Love, it has been good to me this time around. Things were they were bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact and I can find
Well, hello and a very good evening to you. Welcome to today's episode of the X-RAD Show, the talk show that does indeed get you talking on the Xandermonium Network, live from New York City. I'm Xander Gibb.
And I'm the Truth Fairy.
Oh, yes, sirree. On today's show, the hottest of topics, we'll be breaking it all down for you. And in part two, comedian Snyder joins us to give us his take on what's going on in these United States today. More to come in a mere moment. So you can interact with us. You can join in the live feed around the video. You can tweet us. The tweet deeds are on the X-RAD Facebook show page for today. And later on, you'll be able to call us via Facebook Messenger. All the wonders of modern technology. Welcome back to the show, Thomas. And how is the world with you?
I've got no complaints on my end, just wonderful things. I just heard that the president is threatening to pull out of the United Nations Human Rights Council unless they stop the anti-Israel bias, because
Good.
When you look back at modern history, not even modern history, recent history, you see 70 resolutions against Israel for human rights, and then you see 7 for the Islamic Republic of Iran, and something's not right. That doesn't pass the smell test, and so he gave them an ultimatum that we'll pull out if they don't do something about the anti-Israel bias in the United Nations Human Rights Council, and I think that is a wonderful thing and a day for praise to God for something finally being done about the anti-Semitic United Nations Human Rights Council.
But isn't that interesting, considering that, for long enough, the media has painted President Trump as being anti-Semitic. Regardless of the fact that, his daughter became a Jew when she married her partner, Jared, and his grandchildren are Jewish. So now he's doing things that actually benefit Israel. Where does it stop with the media and this kind of labeling? Because these things are clearly not true. They've said he's a homophobe. They've said he's anti-Israel. They've said he's this. They've said he's that. They've said he's the other. Surely these actions prove differently.
Yes, and the answer is it doesn't stop because, just by electing Donald Trump, that wasn't the end, that was just the beginning. And
Totally.
In order for us to take our country back, we have to realize that the people, the permanent political establishment who took it from us, the people, are not just going to hand it back to us on a silver platter. They're going to fight tooth and nail.
Exactly.
And there will be more and more and more every single day. And so, it will not stop because power doesn't give up power.
No.
And, we seized the power on Election Day, but the previous power being held by the permanent political class is not, they're just not going to wave the white flag of surrender and go away. They're going to fight. And that's just how battles go, and politics is a battle. That's why, we call campaigns campaigning. It's named after a military campaign. That's why you target the opposition. The only difference is that, these days we fight our arms, our sacred ballots at the the ballot box.
Right.
And our bullets and arrows are words and ideas. And that's just kind of how it is. And so, again, it won't stop, and we just have to be vigilant in this battle to reclaim our country from the permanent political class.
Absolutely. And it is a constant fight, and one does need to be vigilant. And, even over the weekend, I got a 12-hour ban from Twitter for defending the president. This guy had said some really vulgar things about the president. And basically, because I defended the president, I was banned for 12 hours from Twitter. We really have to take back social media because ultimately what is happening is clearly the majority of their money is coming from the Democrats. And because the majority of their money is coming from the Democrats, what that actually means is that they pay, so they get a say in how things are run. And don't get me wrong, I want everybody equally to be able to have their say, whether I agree or whether I disagree. But the thing that's concerning me is that that social media, including Facebook and Twitter, are actually they're trying to silence conservative commentators, and that's a worry for me because in these United States we have freedom of speech, and it's wrong that freedom of speech doesn't extend to social media.
Oh, it doesn't, and I can tell on Twitter that I'm being shadow banned. I get that. I can figure it out just by looking and paying attention and having people, friends of mine saying, "I never see your Twitter feed and your tweets and stuff."
Yeah.
So I know what's going on, and it's unbalanced, it's unfair, it's undemocratic, and it's quite frankly un-American.
It totally is, and I think that. The thing is, for me, I don't care that I keep getting banned. I don't care that I keep getting into trouble. I don't care that I keep getting attacked by liberals because, when I signed up for this, it was for the long haul, and it was in order to be able to stand up for what is right. Because if I want a quiet life, if I want the easy life and to close my eyes to things, then I would have stayed a Democrat.
Oh, absolutely, and it's like Benjamin Franklin said on the way back from the Continental Congress meetings when a lady on the street asked him, "What kind of government did you give us?" And he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." And that's a very profound statement.
Right.
We are in a constitutional republic, and that means that we have to keep it that way and fight for it because it can go away very easily. It's like Reagan said, liberty is not something that's inherited. It's you have to pass it down through your children and through your children's children, or one day we will be sitting around talking about the good old days when man was free.
Exactly, and it's unfortunate that the first line of attack for a lot of these people is through social media, and this is why I think it's imperative to remain vigilant and to stand up to these people. But it does become very tedious in the long term.
Oh yeah, it does, and it's never ending, and it never will. And that's just kind of how it is. That's where we're at. And, since the world has been community organized, and we all know who to thank for that,
Yeah.
We have to be vigilant and respond to everything, and no more Mr. Nice Guy. And this unfortunate tendency that a lot of conservatives have about, we can't stoop to their level, we've got to rethink that and realize that, sometimes we do have to stoop to their level
Right.
and fight fire, with truth, of course, but, we have to be willing to go as low as they're going to go. And so that's one of the things that many Americans voted for President Trump for, is because he fought back. And the country was tired of these mushy Republicans who were afraid of the media and afraid of the Democrats and afraid of what people might think if they fought back. And the Democrats know that, and they use that against us.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to make a difference. And if that offends you, whether as a Democrat or a Republican, then don't watch. It's as simple as that. I want to say a quick hello to people in the live feed. Hi to Gina. Hi to Chet. Hey to Dave. Hey to Connie, who says hi and bye. She says she will be back. Hi to Joan. Hi to Dave. Hi to everyone in the live feed. Hi to all of those of you who are watching, but not getting involved in the chat. Do feel free to come and join in. You are more than welcome to state your opinion, whether it concurs with ours or not, because we do want to give everybody a voice. So I want to jump into the first story, because not surprisingly, there were more incidents of terror attacks recently on Saturday, actually, and it was shocking to say the least. And British police have named 2 of the 3 men who left a trail of bloodshed with a van and a knife attack in central London. Time to ban knives and trucks, I think, and appealed for the public's help to learn more about their movements in the days leading up to the deadly rampage that killed 7 people dead and dozens wounded. Now, a Pakistani-born Briton known to the authorities, and I'm not giving names and giving glory to them. According to a statement issued by London police, another man who had claimed to be a Moroccan and a Libyan, variously given his age was 30 or 25, was unknown until the night the 2 were shot dead, with a third attacker who has not been identified. Now, 10 others who were arrested in the East London neighbourhood of Barking, where 2 named suspects had lived, remained in custody. Now, the attack launched by these men in London, the London Bridge area, on Saturday night, is shaping the final days of an election campaign, focusing attention on Prime Minister Theresa May's role in reducing the ranks of police officers. Now, Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour Party is kind of like the Democrats of the UK, said that he supported those calling for May to resign because her role reducing police staffing during her tenure as Home Secretary, though he said that the best remedy was to vote her out. Now, there's an election on Thursday. That's the chance, he said, citing an appalling cut in police staffing levels. We're calling for a restoration of police numbers, and there's a call being made for her to go because of what she did to the police before she was the Prime Minister. Now, May, under fire because of 3 major attacks in Britain in the last 3 months, said Corbyn wasn't fit to safeguard Britain's security at a time of heightened threat. We have given increased powers to the police to be able to deal with terrorists, including letting them be armed in some areas, powers which Jeremy Corbyn has boasted he has always opposed. Now, the Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the brazen attack that started on London Bridge, then continued in the streets surrounding Borough Market. London Mayor Sadiq Khan, I want to spit on the floor of the studio, but the carpet's just been cleaned. A Labour figure, basically a Democrat. If we remember, he's the one that said these kinds of attacks were something we just had to expect, has been very vocal about this and been saying not in my name and other ridiculous items of commentary that are just really not needed. Now, the first thing I want, obviously this is really sad, and we our hearts go out to everyone that's affected by this. London is my old stomping ground. I actually just used to live down the road from London Bridge in a place called Camberwell. So this is kind of, it's kind of personal to me from the perspective that, it's my second home. What is even more concerning to me is that we're having this conversation again a couple of weeks after, less than a week or however long it is after what happened in Manchester, because we've learned nothing from these attacks, and we're more interested in not offending Muslims than protecting those people that are being attacked by terrorists. Now, I chose my language very carefully because obviously not all Muslims are terrorists. But unfortunately, the majority of terrorists happen to be Muslim. So I want to ask you, first of all, Thomas, what the hell is it going to take for people to wake up about the real threat of terrorism? And what are they going to do to deter this kind of behavior?
It's going to take the people of England to rise up and demand that the House of Commons pass legislation to do something about this mess, because now we're finding that the man who did the attack on London Bridge previously filmed and appeared on a program called, quote, The Jihadis Next Door on Channel 4 in England, and he was thrown out of a mosque for ranting about some election they were going to have. And a friend of his actually called the police and contacted the police because he was afraid of this thugs and losers' extreme views. And this guy was radicalized after watching these twisted YouTube videos.
Right.
And so what this tells us is that these people, I understand there's about 3,000 of them, they are on the watch list of MI6. And so, you know, there could be 3,000 more of this guy out there, and it's time for them to round them up, put them in internment camps or something,
right,
and drive them out, because enough is enough. Children have died. People had died this weekend. And if this guy, who was on a television program talking about jihad called The Jihadis Next Door, and, you know, on a side note, shame on the producers for making a show like that.
Right.
There are 3,000 people just like him on the watch list of MI6. The people of England need to rise up and say, we don't want these 3,000 people that you're watching. We want them out, and we want them to be driven out. Drive them out. We don't care what you do with them. Put them in internment camps. Deport them, but get them the hell out of our country, because enough is enough.
You see, the biggest thing for this, with all of this, for me, is that you know, I'm going to use a really stupid analogy. You know, when I was a kid, and you know, there were chalky bickies in the kitchen, and my brother would eat the chalky bickies. You know, my mom would say, you shouldn't do that, and that's bad. But that's all she'd say. She'd shout at him. So there was no deterrent for him to not go and do it again. You know, because if it was worth a few chalky bickies to get shouted at. But if she'd have smacked him, or said, I'm not giving you your pocket money, or, you know, you're not getting your allowance, there would have been some kind of deterrent. The point I'm trying to make is, however simplistically, is that there are no deterrents for these people. But I think it's important to get tough now. I think that everybody involved with with those guys that did this should be deported from England immediately. The families, the immediate families, everybody. Because this is the thing, that if there is a deterrent in place, people will think far more about doing before they do these things, rather than just you know, committing these heinous acts. Because let's face it, nobody gets prosecuted, nothing happens. Look at the Tsarnaev brothers. It's absolutely ridiculous. And in this country, we need to step it up too. Because I guarantee you, this is not the last of these attacks, and it's going to continue. And whilst we have these ideologies of pathetic libtards like Mayor Khan and the people over here that are saying, you know, we need to hug a terrorist, and you know, we've brought this on ourselves. We have brought this on ourselves, but let me tell you why. Because we've conceded for too long to political correctness in this situation, and what that has actually done is it's let people think that they can do what the hell they please when they can. And so if we can't step up now and get really, really tough, and I don't care if that offends you, that I'm saying about getting rid of all these people, then you know, it's tough shit. Excuse my French. Because I'm interested in the native, I'm interested in the American people and the British people, and not people that are actually just using our countries as a place to suck the money out of and then attack us, because that's purely and simply what they're doing.
Exactly, and ironically, a very good quote about this came from the great whore herself, Hillary Clinton, when she once famously said, you cannot keep snakes in your own backyard and expect them to not bite the neighbors.
Yeah.
And she was right about that, and that's what's happening. You know, we have capitulated and coddled and appeased these people for years over there, and, you know, just being nice to them and reaching out to them and pretending that, oh, you're nice people and stuff. It's not working. We have dead children and dead people that they continue to kill because they hate us, and they will continue to hate us. And tolerance to them is seen as weakness. And that stupid concert they had this weekend, you know, Ariana Grande should not have been singing songs about love and peace and all that BS. She should have been singing songs demanding the House of Commons to do something about the jihad problem in London. You know, when you have, you know, down on Seville Row, you have to walk around the prayer rugs at noon because they're all bowing to Mecca. Something's not right with the price of tea in China.
Right. I mean, I have to say, and you know, there are a lot of people that are gonna, you know, I'm not here to be like them, here to make a difference. So I'm just gonna say this anyway. You know, the thing for me about all of this is that what this political correctness has actually done is cost lives. We know that most Muslims are peaceful and want to live and pay their taxes, etc., etc. But as Bridget Gabriel quite eloquently says, it is the peaceful majority are irrelevant. You know? They are irrelevant. They do not matter. You know, the peaceful Germans did not matter in Nazi Germany. They did not matter. They were irrelevant. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, it makes no difference that they're peaceful when there is still an element of their group or those that claim to be of their group. You know, because that bitch, Mayor Sadiq Khan from London today said, they do not do this in my name. Oh, well, they're going to stop doing that now, aren't they? You know, the thing is that we need peaceful Muslims to stand up and be counted and say that I'm not putting up with this anymore, and I am a Muslim, and if you are a peaceful Muslim, then start ratting out these people that you know that are going to do these things. Because if you ignore it, you are culpable. If you could have prevented something like this happening, and you don't, then you have a level of culpability in all of this.
Exactly. They need to do what we do as Christians when the Westboro Church misbehaves and behaves poorly and unchristian, and we stand up and call them out and say, hey guys, knock it off. You are not interpreting the gospel correctly. We disavow you. You know, that's what needs to happen in the Islamic world, but it's not happening. And one of the reasons it's not happening is because they're afraid of being killed by, you know, the radicalized Muslims who adhere to this bastardization of the Quran.
Right.
Because like I've said on this show many times before, jihad is supposed to be an internal battle to live your life according to the way of the Prophet. It is not supposed to be an external battle with actual weapons. And the minority, which is presenting itself as the majority, needs to be stomped out, and we need to drive them out. And it should happen from the peaceful Muslims, but they're scared, and I kind of don't blame them.
I don't.
You know, I have a very dear Islamic friend. He's one of my closest friends, and back when the Ground Zero Mosque was an issue at his mosque, he didn't even say something very extreme. He just casually mentioned, I don't think they should build one there. And he doesn't go to mosque anymore because he's afraid to, because the other people at the mosque kind of looked at him funny, and he was afraid for his family, and he's got children.
Right.
So I don't blame him. So again, we have to support these institutions like Dr. Zuhdi Jasser and his organization that works to fight that bastardization of Islam that believes that jihad is external. And also, you know, we have to remember it's only been 2 weeks since the King of Salman of Saudi Arabia and our president opened a center to fight the ideology of Islam that is being profaned and turning into jihadists. And that center will work because they're going to the root of the problem, which is the perversion of the Quran. And so it's going to take some time to seek in. It could take a generation. generation, but heck, if it takes a generation and it works, it was worth it. And so
exactly.
kudos to the president and to the King of Saudi Arabia for opening that center to fight this ideology within Islam that jihad is an external battle, when anyone, I read the Quran, anyone with common sense can read the Quran and understand that jihad is an internal battle, but that's not the section of Islam who has the narrative right now. It's the bad guys. And until we can do something about that, we need to drive them out.
Right. But this is the thing for me. It's about the politicizing of religion that is the issue, and I often hear people say, Islam is not a religion of peace. Well, none of the Muslims I know, want to cut my throat or behead me or drive cars into groups of people and, et cetera, et cetera. And it's this politicizing of religion. And I'm not sure where it started. I'm not even sure if it started within Islam. I'm not sure where the politicization started. But I think in a way that doesn't matter, because we just need to stop it. We need to intervene. We have to stop this from happening again. And the thing is that we can't be namby-pamby anymore. We can't just say, oh, well, never mind. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, we shouldn't be caring about who is offended. And the thing is, at the end of the day, if you're investigated as a terrorist and you're not a terrorist, then who cares? Because it's kind of like, I've said this before, like when you go on a plane, you have to stand for an hour or two and be frisked and have your luggage looked at and these things. But it's the price that we pay for safe travel. And if this is the price that we pay to live safely, that sometimes they will get it wrong. Sometimes they will identify people as terrorists that are just, normal citizens. So be it. Why is that such a big deal?
I don't know. I don't know. That's my answer. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure, I don't know about you, but I know for a fact that I've been on watch lists. During the Obama administration, most conservative commentators were on watch lists. And I couldn't be any more patriotic than you would expect. But ultimately, it's not harmed me to be on a watch list. It's not made me a different person. It's not done anything to me. So what? They were concerned about my level of commitment and how that made me as, being opposing the Obama administration. But it didn't make me a killer. It didn't make me a bad person, and I lived through it. And so will anybody that's accused unnecessarily. But, here's the thing. I hate to say this, I was going to say there's no smoke without fire. But that's not true, because, there's such thing as a smoke machine. But ultimately, what we need to be considering is the needs and the safety of the many, because that outweighs the needs of the few. If we protect the majority, and some of the minority are affected negatively by this, that's a small price to pay.
It is, and, we can all be rest assured we're not on watch lists anymore under President Trump.
No,
no. We're on the good list now.
Yes.
So that's a net positive, and it feels good. I've noticed that my bank accounts don't get hacked into anymore.
No IRS trouble,
less viruses, and less, what are those called, PUPs, potentially unwanted programs being put in and stuff. And so it does feel good to have a commander-in-chief who does not hold animosity toward the citizens of the people that he took his hand and put it on the Bible. Or didn't Obama do it on the Koran? I can't remember.
No, it was the mayor. It was the mayor of London that did that.
Protect. So it does feel good to not be on those watch lists.
But
anymore.
I just want to come to that point because this is interesting to me. And anybody who wants to accuse me of being Islamophobic, send your comments to Xander Gibb at idon'tgiveacrap.com. Why was Sadiq Khan allowed to swear on the Quran for his swearing in? That to me is absolutely disgusting in a Judeo-Christian country, that you're allowed to swear on the Quran. I mean, Islamic prayers in the house, when Barack Obama was president. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm all for inclusion. I'm all for freedom of religion, but freedom of religion does not go to the point of taking it over, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody that's Muslim. I really don't. I have some really good friends that happen to be Muslim, and they're not what we're talking about, because we have to disseminate between a Muslim and a terrorist, because it's kind of like, the two are not mutually exclusive, are they?
No, and I don't understand what the rules are, but I do know that in many organizations, when you do have to take an oath, you do have to take an oath on the scriptures of your own faith. So I don't know how it works in England, but I was very surprised that he was elected, but what that shows you is that the Islamic community in England, or in London rather, has kind of overtaken the Judeo-Christian section
Exactly.
Of the, demographically speaking, of London, and it's becoming like Paris. And quite frankly, if we're not careful, 20 years from now, the only country in Europe that will even look like Europe is Russia,
right,
because Russia is a Christian nation.
Yeah.
And if we're not careful, Paris and England and Germany, especially, they're not even going to look like Germany will not look like Germany. England will not look like England, and France already doesn't look like France anymore. When you've got Karl Lagerfeld saying Paris is no longer Paris, and Brigitte Bardot put in jail for hate speech because of saying something
disgusting,
similar. France is no longer France. And so again, if we're not careful, in 20 years, Russia will be the only country in Europe that even resembles Europe.
Isn't that astounding? Given Russia's history, that could be the possibility. But I think there's method in the madness with regards to making the white person the minority. But that is of a concern for me. I'm all for integrated societies, and I'm all for societies that accommodate everybody. But it's this trading of equality for equity. I don't care where you come from. I don't care how much you earn, what color your skin is, or how much taxes you do or don't pay. It still does not detract from the fact that you live in a country where there are laws, and if you don't want to abide by those laws, or you feel like you want to change it, either run for office or run back to whichever little hovel you came from in the first place.
Exactly, and when foreigners migrate to another country, it is their responsibility to assimilate into that country's society. It is not our responsibility to accommodate and to coddle them. The burden lies on them to assimilate into the country they have chosen to migrate to, and above everything, follow that country's laws and adopt their customs and their traditions of that country. You still retain your own.
Of course.
You still make the food the way that your grandmother did, and you celebrate the holidays from your country of birth. But you have here in America, you celebrate the 4th of July, you celebrate Thanksgiving, but you still celebrate Ramadan, but you have to adopt that country's customs, origins, and principles and values, quite frankly.
I totally agree with you. And Thomas, when I lived in London, I had some Muslim friends, who were doctors, and I would go over to theirs to celebrate Eid, and I'd come back with my Eid sweets and all my fantastic food that they made, and that was great, But it's a difference between still practicing your religion and wanting your religion to take over. And I shouldn't have to say this, but, you know, this is not about saying that this is all Muslims that want their religion to take over, because that's just not true. I've just spotted the time, and it's time to bring on our guest, who is writer and comedian Stephen D. Snyder. I'm just going to see if we can get him on the line now. It's ringing.
Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir. You're live on the X-RAD show with myself and Mr. Thomas S. Schmitz. How is the world with you?
Oh, the world is beautiful right now. The sun is shining. I just left the gym, and it's great to be back on your show, Xander. And Thomas, always a pleasure, my friend.
Hey, Stephen. Good to hear your voice. Did you do any target practice this weekend?
You know, I didn't, but I am considering it. See, I built an AR-15. My lovely wife got it for me for my birthday last year, and I have a couple of 30-round mags. And I like to take that sucker out on the weekends and blow up some stuff. But this weekend I didn't.
Excellent. You guys should have an anniversary coming up pretty quick, shouldn't you?
Well, we have our 6th month coming up, and we're going to be going to a resort for that for a few days, and taking a few days off and just kind of relaxing by the pool. And then in December, we'll have the big 1 year. And believe me, at that point, people will be, losing a lot of money on a lot of bets they made.
Excellent.
Well, we wouldn't have been making bets on that because I think that you are a match made in heaven. Now, I want to jump right in because we've got so much to talk about. Now, I couldn't have you on as a comedian without talking to you about the recent behavior of a certain supposed D-list comedian. I am, of course, talking about Kathy Griffin, who put videos and pictures of herself on social media depicting herself with a mock-up of a decapitated head of President Donald Trump. Now, there's been a total furore about it. She's lost all her bookings. She said it's Donald Trump's fault, and you know he's on a war to get her, and all this BS. Now, I want to ask you, Stephen, as a comedian, is there a line? And you know, some people would say that you should never apologize for anything as a comedian, but when you cross the line, surely you should.
Yeah, so I look at this, first of all, I'm speaking as a purely constitutional libertarian.
Right.
Kathy Griffin has every right to get up there to do a parody, to mock President Trump. She basically did it ISIS style because she's probably an ISIS sympathizer. But look, Xander, the last time I had any experience with a redhead holding a head was at my bachelor party in Las Vegas.
Oh, boom, boom.
You got that one. No, that was a joke, obviously, guys. But no, look, I got to tell you, there's a part of me that says what she did is not wrong. Comedians can do that. I think we have to not monitor our speech. However, your consequences also have actions.
Right.
Now, first of all, I've never been a fan of Kathy Griffin or her humor. If it wasn't for Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David, she would be a footnote to a footnote to a footnote to a footnote.
Right.
She's annoying. I find her kind of repulsive. I mean, look, she's got this carrot top looking creature, tranny kind of look going on to her. I think it's disgusting. But the biggest problem I have with Kathy, instead of saying, I'm sorry, I apologize, I move on, or not even apologizing, she comes out later crying with her lawyers,
right,
bawling, saying she's getting bullied. That's why she's wrong.
Right. Absolutely. Now, your comedy is kind of a little different to mine, which is absolutely fine because we've all got our own stylings. Where is this line, and who decides what this line is? Because I started my comedy career on the gay in the gay clubs in the United Kingdom, and I even used to tell jokes about HIV and used to get into trouble about it. Couldn't even say the phrase "fresh blood" because of its connotations. So my comedy has evolved. But what I want to ask you is, where is the line, and who decides where the line is?
I don't think there's a line. I don't think anybody can sit on their ivory tower and make judgments. And look, there was a Supreme Court Justice, Potter Stewart, who once said in the Supreme Court case Cohen versus California, 1971, and I'm quoting, "One man's vulgarity is another man's lyric," meaning you can't chastise somebody on one hand and on the other hand give another person a free pass.
Right.
The problem with the left is they're not consistent with this. So I do admire some of the conservatives who say, look, I think it's tasteless humor, and it doesn't matter if a conservative says it or a liberal, at least they have that baseline. But I don't think there's a line. I don't think you can cross it. But I do believe there's a time and a place, and you also have to know your audience.
Right.
You can do something at a comedy club a little bit more than you can just walk up and say it in the street. It depends
Right.
on the medium of that delivery.
Exactly, because I think if she'd walked on the stage in a comedy club with a papier-mâché decapitated head of Donald Trump, then maybe the audience might have thought that was funny. But to do it on such a grand scale, the thing is, because here's the thing for me, and I've said this a lot about actors and performers that have chosen to come out against Donald Trump and to continually, trash talk him, is that what they do is they polarize sections of their audience. I was a fan of Kathy Griffin. I'm not ashamed to admit it. But when you start getting to those lengths where you're kind of like honing in on specific areas, you polarize your audience, and I think there's a risk then of there being commercial implications of your commentary. Do you think that should ever be a consideration?
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe that we all, look, whatever you do or say as a comedian, as a performer, you have to bear the consequences for that. Whether you get up there and you say something bad about Trump, guess what? Trump supporters, there are many, many more of them than the other side, they have the ability through voting with their dollars to choose to not watch your movies, to choose to not come to your comedy specials, to choose to not buy your products. That's what you're seeing, and I think people that vote with their dollars are actually making a big difference.
Right, absolutely. I totally agree. I want to just, sorry, was there anything you wanted to add to that, Thomas? Because I was going to change direction.
Yeah, I think the line is when you do something that can be seen as a perceived threat to the President of the United States. I think the Secret Service decides where that line is. And the other thing that people should remember about Kathy Griffin is she has a history of child abuse. Not just a history of it, a self-admitted history of it. She told the Equality Gala back in December in an interview with Vulture magazine at the gala that she said, they asked her, are you going to make fun of Donald Trump? And she said, yes, I am. And she said, but all the comics are, so I'm going to go after Barron Trump. And so she went after an 11-year-old child, and people need to understand that between the ages of 7 and 11, a child is going through what's known as the latency period of development, and this is the period of a child's life when they're learning more about her or his own identity as an individual separate from mommy and daddy.
Exactly.
And during this period, the child, they still understand that she or he is connected to mommy and daddy, but they also understand that they cannot make it in the world without mommy and daddy. And so with Barron often being separated from his dad while he's finishing his school before he moves into the White House, and with both his parents just getting back from a long overseas trip, it's only natural that an 11-year-old boy is curious about what his father's doing. And so if he goes through the room and he sees his father on TV, he wants to know what daddy's up to.
Exactly.
And he's also very aware, he has to be, that there's media-driven animosity and downright hatred directed toward his father. And so when Barron walked by and saw the television set and saw his father's severed head with blood dripping from it, that triggered a horrible acute stress reaction. And there is no one to blame for this except for Kathy Griffin.
Exactly.
And, she lied in that press conference when she said, I would never want to harm a child. But, if you only go back to 2011 with with her Anderson Cooper New Year's Eve special, they asked her if she was going to continue to attack Sarah Palin, and she said, you know what, this is the year that I've gone after Sarah, I've gone after Bristol Palin, I think I'm going to go after
Willow.
16-year-old Willow Palin this year. And she actually took a camera crew down to Wasilla, ignored all the no trespassing signs down the Palin's compound in Wasilla, and went to the front door with a camera crew with the intent of harassing Willow Palin.
Right.
You know, so a case can be made that she has a history of intentional, self-admitted child abuse towards children.
Well,
And
look
I
at...
think that is disgusting and wrong, and I think that Kathy Griffin is a sick person. It could run in the family because her brother, Kenny, who's dead now, was a pedophile. So, but that's no excuse for her recent behavior. I think she should be ashamed of herself.
She should.
And I think Kathy Griffin should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Absolutely. And just before we move on from that, what really offended me, I actually read some stuff that Mrs. Palin wrote this week, and she'd actually referred to, what is her youngest child called? Is it Trig or Trip? It's Trig, isn't it?
Well, Trig is Sarah Palin's youngest child, and Trip is Bristol's second youngest child.
Right.
Trig is the one with Down syndrome.
Yeah, because
And,
Kathy had referred to her as a retard.
Saying, oh, you and your retarded baby and stuff like that.
Disgusting. So, you know, Kathy Griffin gets a total thumbs down from us, and the fact that she's lost work, then, you know, it's well deserved. And so from
lied in that press conference too, because when they were quoting her quote from Vulture magazine on, I think it was December 9th, where she said specifically she was going to go after Barron Trump, her lawyer during the press conference said, oh no, that was from a stand-up act years ago. No, years ago was not 6 months ago. So I don't want to know what this Lisa Bloom uses for a calendar, but in my calendar, in the Gregorian calendars, December was about 6 or 8 months ago. It wasn't years ago. So her lawyer, Lisa Bloom, lied.
Absolutely. So I want to go from one bitch to another, and I think that's fair comment. When you'll agree with me when I tell you who I'm talking about, and that is with reference to Megyn Kelly, who went on a one-to-one with President Putin in an interview, and basically was addressing the growing controversy involving President Trump and his associates and ties with Russia. Now, during the interview, which aired on Sunday night, Kelly asked Putin about the reported conversations between Trump campaign officials and Russian ambassador to the U.S., Sergei Kislyak, and reports that Trump's senior advisor, Jared Kushner, asked to set up a secret back channel between Mr. Trump and Moscow. Now, Kelly pointed out that there were two investigations by Congress and another by the FBI into the Trump campaign's ties. Now, Mr. Putin was not having any of this, and basically, you know, got very upset with her. Is this another case, Stephen, of, you know, Kelly, you know, being a dog with a bone and not being able to move on from things?
Absolutely. Yeah, here's the problem that we have here. First of all, no one watched the Putin thing. I had more views from the boil being lanced on my back in 1993 on YouTube than who's watching Megyn Kelly. Look,
thanks for the visual there, Stephen. That was...
Thank you. I mean, look, here's the deal. Megyn Kelly proved herself to be a fraud, a hack, a fake journalist. Now she's working for a fake news outlet.
Right.
And just like Fox is and CNN is, most of these are fake news. And NBC is the top of it all. Here's my problem with Miss Kelly. They're trying to pin the fact that men who are not working in Detroit and in Pittsburgh and in Wisconsin, the fact that these blue-collar Democrats voted for Trump is not Russia's fault.
Right.
And Russia's got a lot of problems. I don't like how they suppress freedom of speech. But guess what, guys? Vladimir Putin is not trying to take away my guns. Vladimir Putin is not trying to raise my taxes. Vladimir Putin and Russia are not trying to stop me from speaking. That's the deal, and that's why I absolutely love it when he slammed her.
Yes, I did too. I haven't seen clips, and I didn't get a chance to look for them. But this is the thing for me about Megyn Kelly. She's really got ideas above her station, and she's very rude to people. I mean, I didn't like how she spoke to President Trump. I felt she was very disrespectful. But it's great to actually see people like this, brought to task for their behavior. What say you, Thomas?
Well, Megyn Kelly is still mad that Donald Trump was able to kind of one-up her with the nonsense she started at the first debate. And notice he's president of the United States, and she can't seem to find a job where she has a good fit anymore. And so the Putin interview I found very humorous at best. And what concerns me more about this whole Russia thing is the Democrats are starting another Cold War. They're kind of giving the optics and the perception that we're not allowed to talk to the Russians for any reason whatsoever. Well, that's what ambassadors are for. That's what diplomacy is for. We have to have an open line of communication with as many countries as possible.
We do.
And the Democrats are making it sound like anytime you talk to, quote, the Russians, that there's some sort of malfeasance or bad intent there. And, we're allowed to talk to, quote, the Russians. It's actually a good thing to talk to the Russians. That's what diplomacy is. Diplomacy is a good thing in a constitutional republic.
It is.
If we have an open line of communications with other countries and have good relationships with them, that's a good thing. And Russia is our natural ally. We're a Judeo-Christian
Today,
nation.
Yes, they are.
A Christian nation. They're our natural ally. And the Democrats are starting this whole Russia, like Jan Brady, and it's going to start another Cold War, and we should have a good relationship with Russia. Trump got the Egyptians to bomb ISIS. It would be nice if we could get the Russians to start bombing ISIS too.
Yes.
The Democrats and Megyn Kelly, for that matter, are not helping that come to fruition.
The question I think that nobody is asking in all of this is that why, we're talking about Russian collusion, but why is nobody asking why what's his name, Bill Clinton was paid $500,000 to go and give a speech in Russia? That smacks of collusion to me. I mean, what would you pay him $500,000 to talk about? What was his specialist subject? Raping women and having your wife cover up for you for over 40 years? What say you, Stephen?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I love the fact that these pseudo-intellectuals, these bourgeois, beard-scratching, hippie professors, and the global elite, the rich, guilty 1% radical leftists, I love it how they attacked Trump for making an off-color joke about grabbing a woman by her crotch.
Yeah.
Look, you can be offended by that, but he said it as a joke.
Yeah.
He's not a rapist.
Don't worry,
However,
you can say
Bill Clinton is a rapist.
Yeah, you can say pussy on this show because I heard you had a cat in the background, so we would just say that's what you were referring to.
Yes, her grabbing women by the pussy.
Yeah.
And look, that's how guys talk in locker rooms, and I love it how all these sports stars came out and they were like, "Oh, we're so appalled at Trump for saying pussy." Have you ever been around a locker room? That's how these guys talk. That's how we talk. I played football, basketball, baseball. And also, Hillary Clinton, the champion of women, she supports a radical religion that cuts the genitals off of women, puts bags over their heads.
Yeah.
She's also the same woman who ruined the lives of the women that accused Bill Clinton of rape.
Yeah.
These women lost their jobs, they lost their houses, they lost everything. They got audited. She's an evil, sinister person, and people didn't vote for her, not because of the Russians, because we couldn't stand to hear her cackling, nasty voice for 4 years.
Now, we're running out of time, but I just want to ask this final question because it really just came to me. I'm going to ask Thomas first, just very succinctly. Do you think we will ever see a day when the Clintons are brought to task for their 40 years of crime?
It could go either way. I don't know. I would love to see that happen. I would love to see the Clintons held accountable and arrested and jailed. we very may well see that. But my
I would love
answer
it.
officially is I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised. You know, a lot of people ran around saying, oh, the Clintons will never, ever, ever be accountable. I'm not so sure. It could happen. And that could be the reason why this whole fake Russia narrative is being pushed so hard towards our president when there's no there
Smoke
to
screen.
protect the Democrats and what they've done.
Smoke
And,
screen.
you know, what you were talking about before with the pussy tape, I think that tape helped him because, you know, after having a pussy in the White House for 8 years, there was no way America was going to vote for a gun. They voted for a real man who said he was a real man with that tape.
Great point. And absolutely, I would far rather have somebody that makes reference to stuff than actually does it and then gets his wife to cover up. Final point to you, Stephen. Do you think we're ever going to see the Clintons brought to task for their 40-year crime spree?
I would like it to happen. I mean, a lot of men fantasize about other women. They fantasize about
Not
a
me.
new car, a new house. I fantasize about these globally elite, like the Clintons, being brought to justice.
Right.
George Soros, all these people. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the deep state is going to protect her. They're going to protect everybody. They're going to have a fall guy, though. Believe me, they were involved in some child pornography. I mean, look at the photos in John Podesta's brother's office.
Yes.
Like spanked children. I mean, these people are sick freaks. All the code words in the John Podesta emails. I don't think they're ever going to be brought to justice because they're too powerful, they're too big, and that would be like cutting the head off the snake. I don't trust the deep state either. I think they're just going to have a fall guy.
Well, as they have done for the past 40 years, but from your mouth to God's ears, because I want to be Hillary Clinton's prison pen pal, because I will write to her every week and tell her what a bitch she is. We are out of time. It catches up with us so quickly. Thanks everyone who's made today's show possible. Thanks to our fabulously funny guest, comedian Stephen D. Snyder. Tell people where they can find you and learn more.
You can go to StephenDSnyder.com. That's Stephen with a V, D, and then Snyder, SNYDER.com. I just finished writing my 7th TV pilot. I'm about ready to start writing number 8. Currently shopping those babies around. So they're going to land somewhere. I don't know where yet, but they're going to land somewhere.
Definitely.
You can also get all my latest news, anything that I've got going on that website.
Absolutely. Well, when you do land a pilot, you can give me a shout if you need a fat gay singer for any particular role. But for now, thank you so much, the one, the only, the fabulous Mr. Stephen Snyder. Give our best to your wife, Stephen.
Thank you, Xander. Thanks for having me on. And Thomas, good talking to you, buddy.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Take care.
Thank you, Stephen. Good hearing your voice.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Stephen D. Snyder, comedian. Make sure you check him out. All of his contact information is on the X-RAD Facebook show page for today. Thank you to my equally wonderful co-host, Mr. Thomas S. Schmitz, a.k.a. The Truth Fairy. Tell people where they can find you, Thomas.
I'm easy to find. On Twitter, it's at Thomas S. Schmitz, at ThomasSchmitz, at Thomas S. Schmitz. And you can find me as an editor and contributor at www.conservatives4palin.com. That's the number 4, conservatives4palin.com. Twitter, at Thomas S. Schmitz.
Absolutely, and Thomas will be back with us on Friday for Guy Day Friday with myself and Ty Paul Egar. Have a wonderful week, Thomas, and give our best to Jim.
I will do that. You have a wonderful week too, Xander.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was the fabulous Thomas S. Schmitz. Make sure you check him out at thomaschmitz.com. Thanks to everybody in the live feed. It's always great to share with you. Could you, before you go, please click the share button, which is just near the like button. Press that now so other people can be aware of the show, because we want to get to a 2-hour show and get some sponsorship and really get something moving here. So press the share button. Press it now. You can support the show. You can buy buy the book, which is The Boy from Beyond the Ice House. You can buy the album, which is the Platinum Prequel. And you can also donate to the show. I just shared those links in the live feed. Thanks to you all. Have a wonderful night. Stay warm. Stay safe. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. And we will be back with you tomorrow night. Same time, same place. Stick around for The Real Side with Joe Messina. Tell him that I sent you, and I really do love you all. I do. Bye-bye.
Love, it has been good to me.